Hello, this is A.D. Ramsey of Davita Handcraft Soap. Today we're not making soap. We're going to have some meat. This is a New York strip steak. And the New York strip steak consists of the, oh no, I take that back. I'm sorry, this is a T-bone. This is a T-bone. But the New York strip steak consists of the filet mignon. It's a little piece of that in there. But this is the T-bone. So we're going to cook the steak. And if you like your steak marinated, this will be the time to do it. And you can marinate up to 4 to 24 hours. But if you want your steak rare, I would only suggest about 4 hours, and to omit the salt, because the salt draws the moisture out. So whenever you're making a marinade, be it a dry rub or a liquid marinade, omit the salt because you don't want to draw out that moisture. And we're also going to have some potatoes. These are just some random potatoes I have. I don't usually buy potatoes here for the house. There's a few staples that I usually don't buy because I love them and I eat way too many of them. Oh, my potatoes going down the sink. I don't buy loaves of bread because I love bread. And so if I really want some bread, I have to defrost it. I put it in the freezer so I can make toast, or I have to wait for it to defrost. And that's a way that I keep from eating so much bread because I love it. So we're just going to take a little knife. You can get a paring knife or a little knife from your knife set, whatever that is. And we're going to take the skin off, but before I do that, I'm going to put a little water in here so we can put the potato. I hope you can hear me over this water. So we can put the potato into the water so it won't turn brown. Of course, you can leave the skin on. No big deal. But I'm going to peel them. And you can use a potato peeler, but I usually use a knife because I can peel it just as fast with a knife as I can with a potato peeler. And the only time that I make sure that I have all the skin off of the potato is if I'm making regular mashed potatoes. And I try to keep the knife flat, and the flatter you keep the knife, the less meat of the potato you take off. You're just really taking the skin off. And I'm going to grate these potatoes, and we're going to make hash browns. Now we could of course make some potato cakes, but I'm just gonna make some hash browns. So now that the potatoes are peeled, I have a little onion that I use for my salad this week. I love onions, raw, cooked, it doesn't matter. My favorite. So I'm just going to take this little bit and we'll use that. And of course this is not necessary, but I always add onions and a little bit of garlic. So we have 1 clove here. And what I'm going to do is move this over here, bust out the box grater, give it a little rinse, and we will grate the potatoes on the large one. It doesn't have to be super fine. And when you get to the end, just switch the position. Go. Do one more. And I also have an electric one, but This is just such a small job. I can do this by hand. By the time I get it out, put it together, I can have this done. So we've done 2 potatoes. So now we're going to add an onion. And I just use the root and everything. Turn it on this side. And grate the rest. Easy peasy. Do, nope. Do one more potato. Then we'll grate the garlic in large chunks. There you go. Grate one more, the last potato. Voila. Then we're going to take this, reuse our bowl, empty out the water, and we'll just squeeze out some of the water and starch. You can see that there. Just give it a squeeze. And you see how nice and fluffy the potatoes are? All right. Now, here at the house, I only have one cutting board. And what I do when I'm working around meat, I use one side for the vegetables or mise en place, which we remember that means to get your things together, and the other side I'll use for meat. So one side I use for meat and the other side I use for vegetables. So we're going to take this and add just a little bit of pepper, just a little bit of sugar, just a little bit of white sugar. At this point, I don't add any salt in mine. Of course you can, but you don't have to. And I also add, I guess I should have used actual teaspoons and tablespoons. Now that I've added the flour, I'm going to stir it up. Just stir it up. It's not going to be, and the starch is just to hold it together and put back a little bit of the starch that you took out when you squeezed it. It smells so good. Those onions and garlic smell delicious. Now, there's a number of ways you can cook them, but we're going to set it to the side just for a moment. And we also have our skillet that we're going to cook our steak on, preheating inside the oven. And we have this skillet that we're going to use for our potatoes. That's also preheating on top of the stove. Now, before I pack away my steaks, because this was in a pack of 2, and I knew, of course, I wasn't going to eat both at the same time. So I freeze one. When I freeze it, I wipe it off, rinse it. Of course, you don't have to, but I always rinse mine then so that I'm not rinsing it again when I actually get ready to use it and it's not as wet. So you can take a towel, a paper towel, I'll use a napkin, and just blot it. Because it doesn't have a rub, because I like the natural taste of the beef. Of course, you can do all kind of fancy things, but for me, I like the beef itself. So I'm going to take a little bit of this honey sugar, bee sugar from Jen, and just put just a very little bit, a sprinkling on both sides. But not right, I'm not going to do that right now. And notice I'm not going to let this spoon touch the meat because I'm going to use the rest of that. A little bit of pepper. Now this is the time, if you want salt, to put salt in, but I'm not going to use salt. I'm going to use a little bit of soy sauce because you want to keep this as dry as possible. So just a little bit of soy sauce, mash it into the meat, spread it around. To season the other side, I'll wait until I actually have that on the stove. So this part is prepared. And so let's switch your position so we can go over to the stove. All right, we've had the skillet on the back burner warming up. I'm going to turn that up. That's a small eye. So we'll let this heat up just a little bit more. And we'll put a little bit of oil. You can put whatever kind. You can use olive oil, or you can use some vegetable oil. So today I'm going to use a little bit of vegetable oil. But I'm going to let the whole pan heat up. Now, while we were working on the steak, I had the pan that we're going to actually cook on heating up here in the oven. This is the skillet we're going to use, which is nice and hot. Move you in a little closer. Tip you up. Ooh, I see that garbage can. You know that's my fave. Anywho, I digress. So we're going to turn the skillet on. It's already blazing hot. Make sure you have whatever you're using. Make sure it's not wet. I'm going to turn the fan on. And we have everything together. So I'm going to open up the oil. Put just a little bit on here first. And a little on here. Just a wee bit. I'm going to take some paper towel or napkins, paper napkins, whatever you have available, and get that oil all in the grid. Now that we are ready to actually put our potatoes on the grill, I'll add some salt. Because remember, salt, is this one? Yeah. Salt draws out moisture. Is it twirling? Yes. Okay. So because salt draws out moisture, we want to put this in at the very end. So we'll mix it up. Just a wee bit. You can always add salt, but you cannot take it away. And we'll start some potatoes cooking right here. And put one more right here. Now you can make these perfect little squares or circles, whatever shape you want. I'm going to turn this eye down. Now that we have some smoke coming up off of the side, we're going to do the steak. Put the steak on here. Add the rest of that sugar. Because I'm not going to put this back inside the container. And I'm not going to rest it on the lid that I had it on. Now I'll add a little soy sauce. Because I'm not going to add grain sauce until the end. Now, if you want your steak rare, leave it uncovered. If you want your steak done medium or medium well, cover it up. I'm going to put my timer on for 2 minutes. Then we'll turn it. I'm also going to put a cover on our potatoes so that they can cook all the way through in a timely manner. So now that our timer has gone off, we'll open up the lid. Make it a little quarter turn. Put the lid back on there for another 2 minutes. So now that it's done, we've cooked it 4 minutes on each side with the cover on. Now we'll take and flip it over and cover it back up. And because this steak is going to be well done, we're going to cook it for another 2 minutes on this side. And let's check our potatoes. I see a little bit of steam coming off of it, so that means that it's cooking through nicely. Oh yeah, yum. Let's check it out. And of course, you're not supposed to use metal on your non-stick, but my metal one, I think somebody put it too close to the oven. There you go. Oop. I need to push this in just a little bit more. And then we're going to still cover it up so it can cook through on the other side as well. And don't do this at home. Okay, now it's time to turn it another quarter of a turn and cover it up for another 2 minutes. And once we do that, because it's covered, it's going to be cooked all the way through. While we're waiting for that to, the next 2 minutes, I'm going to put a little ketchup in here because, yes, I put my ketchup in the refrigerator like you're supposed to do, but I don't want cold ketchup on my hash browns. This is a little Worcestershire sauce. And a little bit of plain old yellow mustard. Again, I would usually use a grain mustard, but I don't have any. Just give this a quick stir. We're going to turn this steak off. It's going to continue to cook, of course, but we're going to turn it off for the last stage. A little bit of onion powder, a little bit of garlic powder, and that's going to be our sauce for our hash browns. Yum. Take the lid off. Yummy. Uh-oh. Where's my tongs? And there you go. And this is a well done steak because we used the lid. So well done steaks, they don't have to be hard as a brick and dried out. Just have to know how to cook them properly. Now I'm going, as I said, I turned that off. I'm not going to cover it back up. I'm going to turn this off. The sauce is ready, and I'll just let this butter melt into the steak. See what our potatoes over here are doing. Now we could add some more oil to the pan, but I think those are good. Just like that, they're sticking together. Voila. Once again, those don't need to be covered either. And I'm walking back over to the sink because whenever you're cooking, you should have soap water at the ready so that you can just put your dishes. I'm old school. I wash dishes by hand. I know how corny, but I do. And because by the time I get the dishwasher running, I could have washed all these dishes up in between it being prepared. So all our food is done, and for our vegetable we'll have a little side salad. And there you go, that's it. Thank you for coming along, and you all have a good day. And if you like these videos, I will do more of them because I cook every day. So I might as well just pull out the camera every now and again. I don't cook steak every day, and I won't eat this whole steak. This will be, some of it I'll eat today with this sauce and this, and I'll pile it up all cute. And the rest of it I'll have with maybe some asparagus or something like that. And these potatoes, I'll finish cooking up the rest of those and let them cool on a drying rack, and layer them and put them in the freezer, and then pop them in the toaster. And no, the oil won't make the toaster, you know, smoke up. This is A.D. Ramsey of Davita Handcraft Soap. You all have a great day. Bye. I forgot to tell you the most important part. Let your meat rest before you try to cut it. Rest. That means don't cut it right away. Don't take it off the stove and start hacking into it. I know the fan is still going, even though I'm not cooking. I have a sensitive, I guess it's some kind of sensor or something in there. So as long as the stove is hot, there you go. Yummy. And if you want it cooked even more than this, you can, of course, obviously. But this is how I like it. And to finish it, you put a little salt on there, like Salt Babe. Because this is when you put the salt on, in my opinion. Because now you can taste it without it being, I don't know the word. Not saturated, but I don't know. It doesn't have the fresh taste. You can't taste the beef. It tastes more processed, like, I don't know, just processed beef. So there you go. And see, I have my water at the ready. Just set those in there, and I'll wash up, and it's time to eat. Okay, now this is the end of the video. You all have a good day. Bye.